In a country like Israel, where tradition and religion play a major role in the lives of the population, it's interesting to see how the many diverse peoples who make up that population unite together in support of their national football team. For players of the game, the choice of football as a career has its problems with conflicts between professional requirements and religious obligations. Sometimes this means having to choose one over the other, pursuing either a spiritual life or one based more in the physical world. But there are occasions where a balance can be found between the two, as is the case for South African Rabbi Ilan Herman.
I come from quite an intense sporting and particularly soccer background vis-a-vis my family. My father was a professional soccer player in Brazil. He played for a famous club called Botafogo. In fact, the players that he played with were half the Brazilian selection side of the national team who won the World Cup in '58. I had a passion for soccer. In fact, I wanted to emulate my father, and in fact, throughout my school career and early adulthood, I got involved in soccer. Went to play with Swallows and Chiefs, and trained with Cosmos for a while as well. Eventually went off to Israel, played Maccabi games in '91, I think it was, and represented South Africa at the Olympic Games for Jewish people in Israel, which was a wonderful experience. After the event, after the Maccabi, I was planning to go and try out for professional soccer at some of the clubs over there in Israel. I went to visit a friend in a higher educational facility for Jewish learning, and it was there that my Jewish understanding took an entirely new depth to it.
While Rabbi Herman's decision was to take a more spiritual path and make the physical aspirations of his life less important, there are those who choose to go the other way.
גיל 14-15, הבנתי שזה מה שאני רוצה לעשות בחיים. לפני זה התמקדתי יותר בסוסים, כדורגל סוסים, אהבתי מאוד לרכב על סוסים. בגיל 14-15 הבנתי שזה מה שאני רוצה לעשות, עזבתי את הסוסים והמשכתי עם כדורגל.
אני לא בא מבית דתי, אני בא מבית שכולו כדורגל, חיים כדורגל, אוכלים כדורגל, נושמים כדורגל, ומתנהגים כמו באמת בית של ספורטאים, כאילו כל הזמן שאנחנו נמצאים באיזשהו מחנה.
So my soccer kind of took a second place in my life at that moment, and gratefully so, because although soccer was very rich in its opportunity in terms of excitement and the dazzling experience of what it brought to popularity and status and things like that, one can never really replicate the value of life that one can really experience through internalizing spiritual principles and a lifestyle based on spirituality, which Judaism offers, which no doubt is able to be a more than satisfying replacement of that value of soccer.
שכמו כל יהודי טוב, אני חושב שבסך הכל אנחנו משתדלים לקיים את המנהגים של היהדות, החגים שלנו, מאמין באלוהים כמובן. וזהו, לא פנאטי, אבל משתדל לקיים את כל מה שקשור ליהדות.
All my brothers have turned in that direction as well. So my father, who one day was this great professional player and certainly transferred the skills, I think, to his children, really skillful, my brothers on the soccer field. Nonetheless, we've all, in a way, recognized the fact that the priority in life is our dedication to spiritual values and goals. And we still upkeep our game sports, our play sports every week, midweek, of course, not on the Sabbath. But ensure that I keep fit and enjoy a game of soccer.
There are times when, for the professional football player, creating this union between their spiritual and physical lives is not so simple, and fulfilling the commandments of Judaism becomes a difficult task.
My mind is taken back to the famous movie Chariots of Fire, which is also about the question of sport versus one's religion, one's principles. And I think once again in Judaism, we do believe the physical is important. But when that takes preference over a value we have in our religion, then that is a problem. In other words, the sport is great if it can be used together and enhances our religious life. But when there's a clash and the sport takes preference, then that's a problem. One of these commandments in Judaism is to wear what we call in Hebrew the tefillin. In English it's called phylacteries. It is a box that's put on the arm and the head. Inside the box are part of the scripts from the Torah, part of the central scripts that are placed inside the box. And then you have the straps that you put around the arm, and then you have two straps coming down there. The idea behind the tefillin is it's once again to remind us of God, and we specifically put it on the head and the arm, but it also faces the heart to show that we want to remember God in our minds, in our thoughts, in our feelings is the heart, but also the hand is the action. So you have these three areas here, the intellect, the emotions, and the action being represented by the tefillin. Today, most religious Jews will only wear the tefillin for the morning prayers. When they pray their morning prayers, they don the tefillin, not on the Sabbath, interestingly enough, but during the week, they put on the tefillin. On the Sabbath itself is enough of a sign that doesn't need this extra sign of the tefillin.
Clearly, fulfilling the commandments of Judaism, and there are many, is central to the life of a religious Jew. But how much observance is enough? And do these laws apply to all Jews, young and old?
I try to do, the minimum and pray every morning. It's keep my family healthy, together, and this is my faith.